very frustrating because I've got a BMW Z4, a Mercedes and an Audi A4, the German Titans ahead of me, and we're doing 35 miles an hour on a country road. Can you go faster, please? I can. But before we get into any details, just take a moment to appreciate how small this car is. I put my hand on it. It's like a little toy car, and at the front it's barely even above my waist. It's noticeably short too, and if you park into next to any modern car, you'll notice how very small it is. Details though, for this 1974 example of a Mk3 round arch. Wheels, well, we've got 1970s British Leyland style, row styles. They're actually pressed steel, even though they may look like alloy, and I'm sure they would have had you believe they were, they are steel. It's the second style of the row style that they had. I reckon these ones look best. And at the front we have a matte black MG corporate grille. It's got this little hexagonal symbol on the front. I think it looks good, but again, a lot of people would say that the chrome is the one that you wanted. Finally, it's all pretty much standard midget. Important thing to notice though, by this time we've got a decent roof that goes down with a bit of a fiddle, but it goes up much more easily than the earlier cars. I think we'll be keeping it up today though, because it looks a bit miserable. When it comes to sports cars, smaller is normally better. And what's smaller than this? An MG Midget. Well, of course, there was the frog-eyed Sprite that came before it. And indeed, this car's sister, the Austin Healey Sprite. They came out in 1961, and they featured such refinements as boot lid and a bonnet that was far more convenient to open. But don't be mistaken, this car is still very simple and very light. You can see that much in the fact that the bonnet flexes under its own weight. This one's a later car, so we have even more modern touches, such as wind-up windows, which come in very handy because the heater is so strong that even without the fan, I need ventilation. That came with the Mark II, I believe 1964. So we've also got toggle switches for things like automatically returning wipers. Rather than the older cars had little metal toggle switches. We've got this beautifully trimmed autumn leaf interior, and it goes really nicely with the white on the outside. We've got a 4-speed, no overdrive, and we have a 1275cc 65, not 75 brake horsepower engine. Yeah, the same one from the Cooper S, but missing a head and the crankcase, so maybe not quite as exotic specification. It's still punchy though. This thing just sings. We're going uphill, but there's plenty of performance. Rear-wheel drive, of course, and on the wheelbase, pretty much the same as the Mini. So there's lots of fun to be had from the chassis. The steering is really nice, quite sharp, and you can imagine on the earlier cars with quarter elliptic suspension, they would have been a very sharp thing indeed. This car, being later, has the Semi, which gives you a better ride in the back. Now, it's a great way to enjoy British sports car motoring. You may struggle to get all your luggage in, but it's practical enough. Oh, no, we're not missing that 10 horsepower. Not only are there interesting things on the inside though, there are some exterior details that this later car features, and I think, at least to some maybe, they could be appealing over the old more chrome and wire wheeled cars. So you're interested, but how much? Well, 4 or 5k will get you a decent one. If you want a really nice one, push that more to 10. And some can be even more expensive than that. It can often depend on spec, but at the end of the day, you can change yours to whatever you want, because the aftermarket is out there, and there's a whole range of things, like this lovely steering wheel, to things like telescopic dampers, which a lot of people tend to do. Ultimately, if you're looking for a small British sports car of this era, there's not really much out there, other than the Austin Healey Sprite, that fits the bill. There is the Triumph Spitfire, but it's a bit bigger and it features decadent things like overdrive and hard tops. Yeah, you don't want any of that. All in all then, the Midget's a great little sports car, and I'm a big fan.